Hi guys, it's your girl Victoria Henrietta. Thank you very much for joining me for our very special episode of the V-Word Show, all about breastfeeding. So thank you very much to my lovely guests who have come to join me today, and we're going to introduce everybody. So we'll start with you, Kelly.
Hi, my name's Kelly. I'm a mum of one, and this is baby Knox, who is 1 month old today.
And me and Kelly are raving buddies, which is lush. And then we have my beautiful Steph.
Hello, I'm Steph, and this is Arthur. He is 6 weeks old, and he's my first baby. And Vicky and I know each other from a previous career in teaching.
Yes, teaching buddies, and then never were able to not be friends anymore. So been friends a long time now.
Mutual love of KK.
Yes, that is actually how our
really
friendship began, yeah. And this is my lovely friend Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy. I've got 3 children. They are 9, 5 and nearly 2. And me and Vicky know each other properly from festivals.
Yes,
yeah,
actually.
Festival going.
Yeah, Shambhala Massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're basically also raving buddies. And yeah, I have 2 children, 2 girls, Eve and Estelle, and I breastfed both of those children. So what I'd like to know from you, Kelly, is what your job is and just a little bit about your breastfeeding journey so far.
Yeah, so I'm a nurse, so I qualified last year, so I've been doing it for a year, and then I finished to have him in August, September time. But yeah, so breastfeeding, it was something that I just knew that I wanted to do from even before being pregnant. So literally used to sit online on YouTube, like Googling like how to make sure that I could get him to latch on and things like that as well. And also kind of just Googling the benefits of breastfeeding as well, because I think it was something that I was really, really passionate about. But in terms of our breastfeeding journey, he did latch on straight away, which was amazing. So we did the whole kind of skin to skin, and then he had his first feed straight after labour. And then, yeah, so in terms of our journey, it's been amazing. Like, I didn't realise the connection that you would get from it. I just think everyone says it, but it's not until you do it yourself. And I was like, this is like the best thing in the world.
Oh, lush, yeah.
Yeah, so it's gone really, really well so far.
And would you say your sort of medical knowledge was what inspired you more so to breastfeed, or is that something that your family, like, big on breastfeeding, or was it something that you'd researched beforehand, or was it just something you had knowledge on?
I think definitely in terms of like the type of person that I am like a medical person, so I do like looking at like the medical benefits of it and things like that as well. And I think there's so many different chemicals that go into the formula. I was just like, if I don't have to, then I just was really not onto kind of giving them any kind of formula. Obviously, if our breastfeeding journey didn't progress and we weren't able to, then obviously absolutely I would do. But I think it was just knowing that I am producing everything that he needs was kind of like the selling point for me. It was just amazing in that sense.
Perfect. And Steph, what about you? Tell me about your breastfeeding journey.
So I always knew I wanted to breastfeed. It's a combination of 2 things really. I remember it was years and years ago, I was in M&S, just went to the cafe to get some food, and I saw this young woman sat. She had a sort of a 2-year-old opposite her maybe. She had a full boob out. It was a nice size, like not too big, not too small.
Yeah.
And baby was on, and she just looked so peaceful. She was sat drinking a coffee, and I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen.
Oh,
and I just thought, oh, that's amazing. I'm going to do that. Plus, a lot of my friends breastfed, and so being one of the last ones to kind of have a baby, I've been around it a lot. I feel really comfortable with it, and so it was kind of never a question of anything else if it was possible. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I did have this vision of like I'd birth him and I'd latch him and it would be easy. He didn't latch at all, so we did skin to skin and we were there for kind of 2 hours, but just nothing was happening. And then I stayed on the labour ward overnight, again just because it was a struggle. Like, he would occasionally latch, and then I was hand expressing to kind of get it into him, so we were syringe feeding in between, trying out all of these different positions. And I think because I knew I wanted it so bad, I perhaps didn't relax as much as I should have done into it, and enjoyed just the process of it. It just, for me, it was a bit all-consuming.
Yeah.
I have to feed this child, I have to do it myself. There is no other option in my mind. Why isn't this happening quicker? And then he latched on, so we went home. but I was still really struggling. My nipples started to like crack, blister, and it was the dread of the night. You know, you'd see the clock ticking by and I'd think, oh my God, it's night time soon. Oh my God, it's gonna hurt so bad.
It's the toe curling, you know, when you're like,
oh. And so then I contacted a breastfeeding support group and had a lactation consultant come to the house. This was at about 2 weeks, I think.
So you went quite a long time of kind of really trying to do it by yourself.
Yeah, she was amazing. She came in, she completely repositioned me, gave me loads of tips. She was absolutely fab. She made me feel really comfortable, and it made such a difference. And I didn't realise, she was telling me, if you get the latch right, the blistering and the pain stops really, really quickly. And it did. Oh no.
He's like, I don't want to be
This
like
is
that,
poor
Mummy.
timing. And so that was the turning point for us, definitely. And so now I am experiencing all those wonderful things that you talked about, like the connection. I don't know, I just think it's amazing.
Just the closeness, like
it's
the intimacy of it.
Yeah. And I love the idea that like you're interconnected and your body picks up on, you know, like if he's got a bit of a bug and provides something different, and it's wonderful. So,
and well done to you for like persevering through 2 weeks, because a lot of people would have given up at that point, because it's just so hard. It really is. What about you, Amy?
Yeah,
she's a veteran.
So, yeah. Gosh, thinking back to my first baby, so Leo's 9, so it's a long time ago now, but very different experience first time to subsequent babies. I was 25, none of my friends had children. I'd not even been around breastfeeding at all, so I was completely clueless. I thought being a mum was all coffees and, you know, showing them off in a lovely fashionable pram. So it came as a massive shock. So hard, one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I was quite determined to do it. And I remember there was this lovely lady in the hospital, just a maternity support worker, and she just sat with me for probably over an hour, just watching me feed and just guiding me. That made all the difference, because I didn't have a particularly supportive partner at the time, and his whole family were a bottle feeding family. So I was going into this already at odds with people.
Yeah, on the back foot, really.
Yeah, so I had to sort of fight for it, really, and I always just felt a bit of, you know, the weirdo, really, that I wanted to do this, and you know, I'd have to go in a separate room, and luckily it was good, my mum was supportive, but yeah, just really, really hard. No one tells you, I think particularly at that age, just how hard it's going to be, and it was relentless. I remember he used to feed for 45 minutes with a 45-minute break for 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. I mean, when I was in hospital, you just don't realise. And I think at one point I was so delirious that the nurses just took him from me. I don't think I was even making...
This lady needs a break.
I don't think I was even making sense. Second time, it was honestly a breeze in comparison.
And did you find your nipples the second time were just like tough old bits of leather?
Absolutely.
Don't even hurt. Second time don't even hurt. I was like, oh no, I'm ready for the pain, but it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Straight on, no pain, no bother. So different second time, yeah it really was.
And third, did you breastfeed?
Yeah, third time breastfed as well, yeah. Again, absolutely fine, different. I mean, I feel really bad saying this, but I didn't really get what you ladies are saying about all this beautiful connection and all this. I didn't really feel that, to be honest, but I just did it because I just wanted to do the best for my
it's the
child.
best thing for him, yeah.
It wasn't, I didn't find it particularly enjoyable, but you know, just get on with it, and I just did it for as long as I felt comfortable doing it, really.
So how long did you go for each child?
My first was the shortest, which is not really a surprise when you think of the situation. I think about 3 months. Right. Second, 4 months, and then my last Luca, I think I fed him for going on about 5. Right. But for me,
good lengths.
Yeah, I feel proud of myself for doing it. But for me, there was definitely a point where I wanted to get myself back a little bit. It was the end for me, and I felt I'd given what I was comfortable with. I didn't want to get into the point where I feel terrible even saying this word, but I didn't want to feel resentful. Yeah. You know.
And you have to do what will make you happy, because if you're not happy, no one else is happy at the end of the day.
Exactly.
With Eve, I had a planned C-section, so everything was really calm. So I was scared for the C-section, especially because they kept saying, oh, we might have to change, if the baby turns, you know, we'll induce you. And I was like, I've literally spent all this time preparing for a C-section, you can't just change your mind. But anyway, it was really chilled. She came out, she didn't even cry. Dama was like, she's got blue eyes. Are you sure she's mine? I was like, she's definitely yours. It's fine, like, everything's fine. She had a soft little lovely cry, latched on straight away, took to feeding really well. But I had the like cracked nipples, crying. I could be like, I don't want to do it again, it really hurts. He's like, you're going to be fine, it's okay. Luckily, he was really supportive. I'd had the C-section. That was probably the hardest thing, like trying to shuffle up in the bed when I was in so much pain, to sit upright, to be able to latch her on and stuff. My right boob, the latch for a few months, I obviously wasn't latching her correctly on that boob, so it still hurt. And then with Estelle, I had a natural labour, which was like 27 hours of pure hell. It was really traumatic. My milk didn't come in straight away, so she was on the breast, cluster feeding. There wasn't a lot of milk, lost lots of weight. And then because I was so used to feeding Eve and I was thinking I was a badass, I'd be like, oh, she's not actually drinking anymore, I'll just take her off. So I was just taking her off the boob. But then didn't realise that's affecting my milk coming in. So the midwife is coming around, the health visitor, and saying, oh, you know, if she doesn't put weight on, you're gonna have to think about bottle feeding. I remember being really just ridden with guilt and thinking, oh no, this is really bad. Had, you know, lots of good friends, like my friend Jessie, who came around and helped me get a pump on my boobs, try and stimulate my boobs and all these different types of things. And you know, the health visitor said, oh no, don't take her off the boob, leave her on the breast for as long as she wants to be. And then eventually my milk came in and everything was fine. And luckily I didn't have any of the pain or anything. What I wanted to know, I mean, Amy, you've kind of touched on it, that you weren't particularly supportive with breastfeeding the first time. What about you, Kelly?
I think from the duration of my pregnancy, I've literally said to everyone and anyone that it was my intention to breastfeed. I had a lot of negativity from people going, well, you know, not everyone can breastfeed. And I was like, no, absolutely, like I completely get that. But obviously if I can, it was my absolute intention to breastfeed for as long as possible. And then I haven't really received any negativity. The only things that I have received, obviously I'm quite public with my breastfeeding. I have no problem in breastfeeding wherever, whenever, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't turn up and, you know, you wouldn't say, well, you can't feed your baby here if it was a bottle. Equally, I put it a lot on social media as well, because I think the more that people are exposed to it, the less that they're...
The more normalised it is.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, he was a very sleepy baby, so I used to have to wake him for feeds. Whereas now, in the last couple of weeks, we have had issues with him gaining weight and things like that as well. So we lost quite a lot of weight. I've been to hospital, had him reviewed. They were like, oh no, it's fine, it's breastfed baby, so just keep going. Every time I was seen by a professional, everyone just used to say, just keep feeding him, just keep feeding him. And I'm like, I am, that's all I do. Like from the moment that he's awake, we are feeding to the moment that he's asleep. So I literally feed him to sleep every single day. I had put something on social media about, just on my story on Instagram, to say, oh, I really hope that we get a better night's sleep tonight. And I got quite a lot of messages going, oh, just give him formula. Just give him a bottle of formula and he'll sleep. And I'm like,
yeah, he will sleep, because I'm filling his body with something that's not meant to be
absolutely
in there. So it is heavier on his stomach, so it is going to make him more sleepy at the end of the day.
And the same with him losing weight. Everyone's like, oh, well, if you give him a bottle, then he'll put weight on. But actually, it's now come out that he's got tongue tie. So even giving him a bottle isn't guaranteed that he would. Absolutely. So that's the only things that people are quite quick to kind of go, just give him formula. Or I've had people go, well, it's not fair on other people because they want to feed him. And I'm like, why do other people need to feed my baby? No one else needs to feed my baby. That's what boobs are here for.
Exactly. And it's obviously in a Western culture, everyone just loves boobs in a sexy way, like they're sexualised. That's why people are like, oh, she's got her boob out and there's a baby sucking on it. Like that's actually why
that's what it's here for.
That's the point of them. What about you, Steffi? Were you supported?
So really, really supported in terms of, like, my husband has been fab with it. And like I said, because I've had friends that have always breastfed, everyone's been really supportive, and certainly in the first few weeks got loads of messages like, if you need any help, how's breastfeeding going, is he all right? And so that side of things has been absolutely fine. I would say my one struggle has been, I get a lot of, oh, you're feeding him again? He's still hungry. He's not hungry, give him to me. And it's ranged from, you know, like older generations to even youngers. And I've sort of had to figure out a way of politely saying it to people
shut the hell up.
without saying that, yeah. And and then I did get to the point where I'd think, oh, I've just fed him, but I need to feed him again, but someone's going to say something. And it made me apprehensive. And that went on for a week or so. And then I just thought, no, like, absolutely not. I shouldn't feel guilty. I know his cues. And that was the other thing. I think a lot of people said to me when I said, oh, can I just take him? I need to feed him. They'd say, oh, he's not crying. Yeah. And I'd say, yeah, but actually, crying is like the last point. I don't want to get to that.
I don't want to distress baby.
Yeah, I don't want to distress baby. I struggled with latching, and I know when he's really crazy crying, that he does the headbutt and everything. Yeah. And so, like, I felt kind of like aggravated that I kept having to explain to people that, oh, if he's doing this, that actually means he wants to feed. It doesn't mean that he's just, you know, like, needs you to rock him more, for example. So yeah, that I think is a struggle. But then that kind of links to like the education of breastfeeding in others and knowing.
Well, and mummy power, I love that you just putting your foot down and being like, no, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to do it.
It takes a lot to get to that point though, doesn't it? To build yourself up to be like, no, please give me my baby.
Especially when I just found after, like, I'm an emotional person anyway, but after pregnancy and then post-pregnancy breastfeeding, I was a psychopath. Like, one minute I'd be crying, one minute I'd be happy, I just didn't know what I was doing. And then afterwards I just remember being like, am I meant to be feeling like this chaotic in my mind? Like, what's going on? And it's very difficult at times to just be clear on what you want and to voice it and, you know, just to be firm in your stance. So, Amy, what is the one thing you wish you'd have known about breastfeeding before you started?
I never realised how sweaty I'd be all the time.
And was that because it was exhausting because you were anxious?
I think, yeah, anxious. It was. Also, I think it's just after birth. You know, you're getting rid of all that fluid as well. But that was a shocker.
Out of your body.
That was a shocker.
Yeah.
Like a frog in the morning. Like. Be prepared that for 2 weeks at least at the beginning, just write off everything else in your life completely. Yeah. You know, for me, I'm quite an active, quite a busy person. I struggle to sit still. So mentally, that was quite hard for me to just sit and be, because there's a lot of sitting when you're breastfeeding, and you just, you have to get through that mentally. Yeah. You know, I've just got to leave all that rubbish over there and just sit here. Yeah, just get a good box set on and relax.
That was what I loved. One of the things I loved about breastfeeding is that I could fully binge whatever I wanted on Netflix or whatever, because I had the excuse of I have a baby to feed. Yeah. What about you? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Setting yourself up with a feeding station, 100%, because even now, like, because he still cluster feeds all night, all day, every day, just setting myself up to make sure that I've got fluids and food. Yeah. I didn't realise how thirsty you would get either. Like, you sat there and you're like this unquenchable thirst, and even like overnight, it's really bad, but I'll eat like a full box of cereal, just like picking, and I'm like, at least it's cereal, not crisps. Yeah. That's and then also I wish that somebody would tell me as well to put on nipple cream after every feed. Yeah. Because I think that's the other thing, that you kind of go, well, I feel all right, and then it's like, no, I will remind you that you're not okay. Yeah. But no, just the nipple cream, and then also the Lancino nipple pads. You know, like the they're just so much better. They've got like the cream already in them.
So is that for after, just to stop you from leaking?
Pads, right, yeah. And honestly, they made such a difference. Like, who knew? Like, a little circle could make such a difference. Like, they're so much better. So yeah, they would be my go-to tips. Make sure you've got food and fluids, and then some good breast pads.
Yeah, wicked. Steph?
And a comfy spot. It took me ages to find the right spot. Yeah. And I know that you can't always have the right spot, like if you're out shopping or if you're, at work, but find your spot wherever you have to find it, if that makes sense. But at home, you obviously have the luxury of like doing it wherever.
With 100 pillows around you.
Yeah. And just the binge watching of the television programmes, and just and kind of accepting the fact that you can't just get up and move around. You need to just relax into it, and if you've got the spot and the snacks and the drinks and the TV shows and everything else, it kind of helps.
And it's one of those things, you mentioned it earlier, you kind of can never prepare yourself. Like, people are like, oh, you're going to be tired, and you're like, okay, and you're like the 500th person who's told me that I'm going to be tired. I know I'm going to be tired, and then afterwards you're like, no one told me I was going to be this tired. So it's
you don't
one of
know the
those.
meaning of tired, do you?
Exactly.
Until you've
I
had a
remember
baby.
me and Delroy were both laying in bed one day, and I was like, "What is that on the ceiling?" He was like, "I don't know." And we were fully hallucinating because we hadn't slept for about 4 days. The first time with Eve, because I'd been in for a C-section, I had gestational diabetes, had to stay over. It was roasting hot in there, I couldn't sleep, and we were just exhausted. But I'd say the things I would say to a new mum are that, one, it really hurts, and that's not a bad thing. That's just one of the things you have to do. And you know, it's same with everything, no pain, no gain. You don't go to the gym and think, oh, you know, if you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to build muscles, you don't go to the gym and think, oh, you know, it hurts a bit, so I'm not going to do it. You push through it because the end result is, you know, what you're after. So don't be put off by the fact that it really hurts, because it does, and you probably will find it difficult and cry yourself to sleep a lot, but eventually you'll be at a point where you're like, I'm so glad that I did this because it's so easy. And I remember the day my friend said to me, oh, you don't lay on your side to feed in bed? I was like, no, I get up and hold the baby in. She's like, your baby's old enough, roll over on your side, put your baby in her mouth and see how you go. Best
Game
thing ever.
changer.
Isn't it amazing?
Oh my God, I'm just like, still half asleep, roll over, boob in mouth, baby's quiet. I was just like, you know, that has changed everything. We've kind of spoken about, although you didn't feel that, but that you know, you really enjoy the intimacy of breastfeeding, the bonding and everything. What would you say is the thing that you dislike the most about it?
What I love the most is that he is completely dependent on me, but equally he is completely dependent on me. So like, even being a single mum as well, when it's 4 a.m. and you've been awake since 12 and there's no way he's going to sleep and it's just you, it's like, I'm so exhausted, but there is no other option. So it's so rewarding, but at the same time it makes it so much harder. But then I just think, well, my thing is like, at least with a boob, I don't have to wake up, go downstairs, sterilise a bottle, make sure the bottle's clean, put the formula in, and then make sure the water's the right temperature and he's screaming. Like, it is literally, I can just give him just the boob. So it's like, it is a hard thing, but at the same time it's quite nice to know that it is just so quick
and it's
and
short
simple.
term, because as he gets
Absolutely.
bigger and he can hold more in his tummy and he's feeding better with his tongue tie and stuff, like maybe when he's like 3 months he might go for 2 or 3 hours in between a feed rather than just being on you all of the time. So at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just like, when am I gonna get there? What about you, Effie?
So apart from the start, this, you know, and that settling in period, accepting the pain with the gain and all of that, clothes. I actually have really struggled with, you know, when you're pregnant, you think, oh, I've got to buy some pregnancy clothes. You don't think, oh, I've got to buy some breastfeeding clothes. That's what I've kind of struggled
And it's basically in a way like being pregnant again, because you're like, oh God, nothing fits me because my belly's massive, so I've got this one pair of trousers which fit and I'm going to wear them all day, every day. Oh, now I'm breastfeeding and I haven't got any clothes, so I'm going to wear this one button down top that I have all day, every day. I think that was the thing I was going to say, is that you don't realise that you can't wear a lot of stuff, and it's that like feeling like you're not yourself kind of thing, like I want to be able to wear this top but I can't.
You do feel restricted. Everything that I wore breastfeeding, as soon as I stopped breastfeeding, I was like that burnt it in the garden. Bye-bye. I never truly felt comfortable feeding in public. You know, it's hard to put that down to if that was me or if that was coming from society. I mean, there has been a change. I have noticed a change from my son 9 years ago to now, which is brilliant, and I have felt more comfortable each time, but I have never felt truly comfortable.
I was the same. I never felt truly comfortable, and I think for me it was sort of like a body issue thing, because I kid you not, my nipples are the same colour as this tablecloth, which I now have learned it's
no
because
one will prepares you for that either. You're like,
your nipples get dark. Obviously you get, like the first time I was overweight, I had gestational diabetes, so like my lips went black, my neck was black, my armpits are black, so like real weird pigmentation. I had the lines down my belly. Both times my nipples got darker, and I didn't find out until after this, because they get darker so the baby has a target basically. It's easier for them to find the breast. And I remember thinking, if people see my nipples, they're literally going to think I'm an alien, like what is happening? So that was one of the reasons I think why I felt so uncomfortable, like I just didn't want people to see my boob. And then the second time I was much more calm with it, and I think the first time as well I had a couple of comments like, oh, please don't feed him in it, don't let the kids see you feeding the baby, or oh, would you mind feeding the baby like upstairs or whatever. And I remember thinking, oh God, like I have to hide away, and I think that kind of made me a bit more conscious. So yeah, that wasn't ideal, but I think because I'm planning on having one more, fingers crossed, And next time I probably will be one of those mums just swinging my boobs out around in public. It'll be fine.
I've always admired those mums as well. When I see it, I'm like, go you.
Yeah. Can I just ask, are you one of those mums who gives full eye contact when people look at you? You're like...
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. And you know what? I find that people are actually more receptive to it. I saw it was in Marks and Spencer's, and a woman walked past, and the child looked at me, and she went, "Look, she's feeding her baby." And I just think actually educate your child to know that you were probably fed like this as well, and this is absolutely normal.
And that it's not normal, disgusting or weird or...
Yeah, exactly. And actually, you smile back at them, and I think you get such a good response. Like, whereas I think even if people stare at you, I just think, well, you wouldn't be staring at me if I was bottle feeding him.
I thought, right, I'm going to have a response ready for if someone says something horrible to me. I went on a walk in the forest. Oh my God. We got halfway and he just screamed. He couldn't be settled. So I just walked back to the car feeding him, and a guy with his son walked past us, and I saw him looking, and I thought, oh God, I hope he doesn't say anything. And he said, "Son, look, that baby's being fed. That's how you were fed when you were little. Isn't it lovely?" And so it has been fab so far.
Especially for boys, I think, as well, because they're just obviously so obsessed with boobs generally. Sorry to just make a sexist comment there, but you know, mostly boys love boobs, so it's good for them to understand that they're not just there for sexual gratification, they're a functional thing. I definitely agree with that, and I've seen my girls loads of times holding like toy dollies on their boobs and stuff, like, "Mummy, I'm feeding the baby," and I'm like, that is great. Like, I want you to incorporate that into your role play, because I don't want you to think that it's weird to breastfeed. Are there any sort of surprising facts about breastfeeding that you've found out? I mean, I've mentioned about the dark nipples. Anything else that you've found out after that you're like, wow, I never knew that was a thing?
You know, you were saying about you needed to feed and you were walking. Revelation with my third was that actually I had a stretchy sling, and realised that I could feed with him in a sling as well. That was a bit of a win-win.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I don't have to do it. I just give you the baby and carry on.
There we go, and I can carry on with my walk. It's lovely.
I found out there was a point where he was really wiggly and his arms were flailing about and they kept hitting my boobs. And I thought, oh, are you uncomfortable? Have you got wind? And at the time we were like struggling with reflux. But I found out that they bash your boobs to help stimulate milk flow. Or like he's got a bit more gentle with me now, so at first it was like a fist bum, and now his hands are opened out and they kind of just like give me a little stroke. And I love it from like a connection point of view. It's gorgeous, but he apparently does it to help, you know, like let the boob know that the letdown needs to come in.
I love that he's let you off. He's gone from a full boob punch to
I know.
a boob stroke.
He moved once, he reacted well to it.
Yeah.
Worked so hard.
He's trained them now.
I love it.
Basically, if he becomes ill, my milk will change for him, so that it responds to any kind of like stimulus from him. So if he's got a cold or if he's like feeling unwell, then I think that's amazing. I think that was one of the another reason why I was like so adamant to breastfeed as well.
I think I had a lady called Roz on the show talking about her business and breastfeeding, and she said that the knobbly bits on your sort of areola are glands, and their saliva goes into those glands, and your body sees, oh, they need such and such antibodies, and sends out exactly what you need to protect you and the baby, which is just crazy. So has anyone got any funny breastfeeding moments? Yes.
Well,
I'm scared.
It's not that bad. I've got a couple. One, the delirium of the cluster feeding phase. We tried this trick to get him to like settle in his cot that someone told us about, hot water bottle, like place it in there when you're feeding him. Then when you take it out, he feels like it's the warmth of the body. We have a fur-lined hot water bottle. So I spent about 5 minutes talking to this hot water bottle, thinking it was my dog on the bed. And I was just kind of chatting away because I felt a bit lonely, and it was 3 a.m, thought it was the dog. And then as I like leaned in and looked, saw that it was the hot water bottle.
Oh my God, I love that.
And then the other one has just been leaky boobs when I didn't know, and then I was just talking to someone, and then I've like swung past a mirror and noticed, and they haven't told me, and I've thought, oh God, why didn't you say anything? But apart from that.
Mine is him delatching, and then not realising, and then looking down and realising his face is covered with milk. And you're like, well, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry about that. Yeah. Just sprayed you.
Just going to rub it in.
Yeah.
After I'd finished feeding my third, I decided I'm going to go out, I'm going to have a great time at a little day festival.
Yeah.
So I had finished, but I was still filling up over the day, and they were quite full, and I was dancing away and I was having a lovely time, and I was just like, oh, I'll just relieve some pressure and spray a few of my friends.
Yes, I love this.
Which some of them really appreciated, actually.
Well, because we looked at the video of the woman, the raver, spraying people.
Is like the thing of
Yeah, I never was able to do that. Like, I maybe get a little, like, but not a full, like, shoot a few feet. So that's epic. So you sprayed your friends. Did you spray any of the general public?
I did spray someone that I just met that day.
Yeah.
And I just felt that she was going to love it.
Yeah.
We'd made a connection. I was like, I think you're going to love this, and I tried it, and she loved it the most.
Well, there you go. You knew. I think it seemed like the crowd had kind of dispersed around us. So I think some people were like, oh, let me stay back.
And then that one woman went in and was like, give it to me.
Yeah, like, let me know. But I think I genuinely would feel like an absolute mummy goddess. But I was just raving, squirting people like I got it. I mean, you must have done when you did it. I bet you were like,
yeah, it was a little bit different to that video. It was dark.
Yeah, no one knew.
It wasn't quite like, oh, look at me.
Yeah. There was something I wanted to discuss actually with you, Kelly, because I saw on Instagram about the milk baths you've been giving.
So I have been using the Hacker, the silicone breast pump, really, which is amazing because obviously when you are feeding, you get a lot of letdown from the other side, which typically goes to waste. So I was collecting the kind of letdown from that side, and then because obviously he was exclusively breastfed, rather than the milk going to waste, I thought that we could use it in his baths. So it's just incredible for his skin, so for like nappy rash or for any other rashes or anything else like that, just to kind of use in there. And he really likes it. Like, you see him in the bath and he's like,
and it was smell of mummy and so perfect.
Really lovely for him.
Exactly. So yeah, it's amazing.
Does he have any skin issues or anything that you've noticed it helps with? Or?
No, not really. But he's been pretty, like, he's got like kind of
Because I have psoriasis, so I saw Kim Kardashian stealing Courtney's like milk out of the fridge to put on her psoriasis, and I did try, and it does actually take.
A bag.
Thank you,
Yessie. You should have said we could have brought some. I've got a fridge full, a freezer full.
So I'll come and grab some. And I remember just like dabbing myself with it, and actually it took away a lot of the redness and like calms it down a lot. So there must be so many benefits. I mean, it's obviously packed with goodness. Yeah. So yeah, if it helps, I mean,
definitely.
A milk bath's a good thing.
But you can make it into like soap, and you can make it into cream as well. So you can mix it with like coconut oil and rub it into their skin as cream. So yeah, there's like so many different things that you can do.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming to you girls for some milk. Wicked. And Steph, you have wonderful big boobs. How do you find breastfeeding with massive bangers? Do you think it's different to someone with, because I've only got little boobs, so for me it's a lot more discreet to get my boob out in public, things like that. Like, and you mentioned as well about you had to try lots of different positions. Was that because your boobs are so big?
Yeah, I can't lie. This has been the other thing that has got me down with breastfeeding, because when I was trying out the different positions at first, he was naked, I was naked, and so we were trying to do skin to skin, but I was having to like pull the other one and rest it over him on his legs. So the poor kid's legs would be like trapped with one breast and then the other would be flopped down.
Trying not to suffocate it.
Yeah, so I actually feel like I have to manipulate the baby and then the boob, and it just takes so much to get him on. Yeah. It is harder to be discreet. This is why I've got this on me here, because there's just such a sheer volume of skin.
There's so much boob.
And it's very easy to like clock it as opposed to like a little bit. That's what I've kind of struggled with the most, I would say, actually. And everything gets a bit sweaty and hot, and it's just...
But then also you do have lovely big wonderful boobs, so swings and roundabouts.
Well, yeah, I would swap them for a pair of bees. Like, oh god,
some nice little bee stings.
I just love
to sleep
them.
on your front as well. Like that's what you're missing out on.
Oh, I'd love just like a little one with the nipple that points forward. I could just put him on and put him off, and then rather than like boof and have these baby seals attached to the front of my body. So yeah, it's not been my favourite part, I have to say.
Well, fair enough, and understandably so. Amy, you were quite pleased to give up breastfeeding. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that, really.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm glad I did it. I'm really sort of proud that I put the effort in and did the best I could, but there was an instinctual point where, and I'm very much done. My 3 children. I sent my husband for a vasectomy straight straight after the 3rd one. Yeah. I've really enjoyed just reclaiming my body. I've taken up a new sport in kickboxing, which I love.
Which you're smashing also. She's just got a new belt.
Yeah, so loving that, loving sort of getting fit, and I've had 2 new tattoos. You could say some sort of midlife crisis, maybe like
post-baby crisis.
Post breastfeeding crisis. But actually it feels great.
Yeah, I totally hear that. I think, like, I breastfed, actually I remember being a week before the exact year date with Eve and being devastated. I was like, oh, but I wanted to get to a year. But I basically did, but she just happened to fall asleep without the night feed. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to put her to sleep. And so I stopped a week shy of a year. And with Estelle, I had to stop at 9 months. So she's got an issue with her sort of bowel, which I think came from me having really strong antibiotics because of my episiotomy, and I think it stripped her stomach, so she got constipated from 3 weeks old and has been on medication ever since, and she's now nearly 3 years old. So at 9 months she had had oral thrush on and off since pretty much like a month old, and it can make your nipples really sore. If you have thrush on the nipples, it hurts when they latch. And I remember just thinking, we basically, no matter how much of these drops I give her and how much cream I put on my breast, like we're still passing it back and forth between each other. And in the end, I was just like, I think it's better for me to stop. So I stopped at 9 months, and I was gutted because I wanted to go for longer. But then I had the other side of being like, oh my God, I can wear a bra and a top without having to worry about how am I going to get my boobs out in public. Like, it was really nice just to get.
And 9 months is brilliant. You should feel great about that, you know.
Yeah, it was a double-edged sword. So that wraps up everything really that I wanted to discuss today. So a massive thank you to you ladies for coming on, and to you Nux and Arthur for coming on and being really well behaved. Like, Arthur had a bit of a grumble, but he's well chilled now. I see his little jaw going, having a little feed
power
there.
of boobs.
Yeah, isn't it? I know. Thank you so much for coming on. Lovely to have you, and I hope you'll come back on again to have another mummy chat.
Definitely.
Anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for watching this very lovely episode of The V Word. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and I hope that there's some mums or mums to be out there who feel inspired or who have enjoyed watching the show and getting extra information and real life experiences about breastfeeding. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Peace out.